So, David, according to Mr. Carter, the main impetus for coming back and doing more X-Files was that you and Gillian wanted to do more. So what was your motivation for wanting to come back and continue this story?
As usual, Mr. Carter is spreading lies and falsehoods.
That's what the show is all about.
Yeah, that's what he does. So I will just tell you that that's not exactly the truth.
What's your version of the truth?
I don't have a version.
but David, we're all excited. Does it ever become old hat to you, though?
Sure.
It does?
Yeah. But that's my job to not make it feel that way. You know, it's an actor's job to figure out how to make it fresh and new and real to himself, no matter what he's doing. If I was doing a play every day, I'd be doing the same play every day. And I know there's an audience out there that's coming to see that play for the first time, and I got to figure out how to make it for the first time for myself. So it's a little bit different, obviously, because the material is going to change, but I'm playing the same character. But it's just a similar. It's a question of integrity for me as an artist, as an actor, as a person. I'm not going to shortchange you on your investment. You know, it'd be wrong morally for me. I feel morally for me to go out there and to show you that it feels old hat to me and to wink at you and say, I'm over this. Even if I was, it's my job to get new with it again.
So you have to deal with, like, you have a lot of other parts, but they're more realistic, and you have to deal with a lot of really heavy material for those. Mm-hmm. But for the X-Files, you have to deal with very heavy material that's not realistic. Is there anything, and especially going into 2018 season, is there anything that's like you've ever taken home with you?
It's mine?
Nope, it's fine.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, I'm listening.
I'm sorry. No, that's okay. Ever had is there anything you've ever had a problem taking home with you or breaking away?
No, I've never been that kind of an actor. I mean, I've always been very. I never refer to my characters in the third person, like Mulder, or what he would do, or what. I just never. I always felt kind of queasy doing that. I mean, maybe subconsciously, unconsciously, sure. I would imagine so. But again, that's like an actor's work is to like let that happen, let it. If I were to start cutting it off, I mean, you always want to be dad when you're home or whatever, but there's stuff going on underneath that continues. It's just part of the beast. So, but I'm not really like riding herd on that. I just kind of have to let it happen. I can't remember. I mean, aside from getting like physically really tired sometimes, how the work would have affected me, and that affects you emotionally, spiritually, always. But. I don't know. I feel like sometimes there are attributes of a character that I admire. That maybe I will start to embody those qualities more. And I think maybe I'm attracted to characters that speak the truth because that excites me. So if I'm just off the top of my head thinking of like two television characters, if you have like Mulder and Hank Moody, those are guys that. They couldn't be more different, but they both speak the truth, regardless of the consequences. So maybe I brought that home. I don't know.
So where's Mulder at as we catch up with him now, and what still excites you about what's going on this season?
Well, Mulder's, he's at death's door at the end of the last little season that we did. So obviously that can't last. So we got to get him out of there. But what's nice about this season is we're doing 10 rather than 6, and of those 6, the first 2 are really like exposition heavy about how to get you up to speed to what's, introduce characters to new people, satisfy old people. And the 6th one is also wrapping up with old stuff. So now you only got 3 episodes in the middle to kind of do what we do. Now we've got like more like 9 episodes where we can kind of stretch out and actually be a season of our show. So that's exciting to me to actually start telling stories rather than. Unfortunately, we kind of got trapped into telling the story of the show. Right. To me, that's not so interesting. It might be interesting to fans. I don't know. I can't look at it that way. But once you start talking endlessly about yourself, to me the show was about the case and how that affects the characters. Unfortunately, after a certain point, it becomes about the characters and not about the case, and to me that's less interesting.
There are a lot of show revivals right now. Some work better than others. Yours works. Do you know why? Like, what do you think it is in particular that affects?
I don't know why exactly. I think it's really a testament to the frame of the show in many ways, and I think it has to do a little with what I was answering before, which is if you can get away from being about yourself and actually doing what you do, because the show was always about wonder. It was like a Twilight Zone type show. So if we can get back to that and not about the characters so much and their backstory, then I think it works. I think revivals, they can get trapped in doing the same thing, trying to give people what they think they want rather than giving them what you want to give them and then hoping they come around.
Chris mentioned that.
Go ahead.
Chris mentioned that you guys have never strayed away from talking about political matters. So I really wanted to know why you thought it was important for you as both an actor and as the character to take the knee in that Instagram picture that you and Julian Anderson.
It just speaks for itself, I'm not a fan of gestural politics per se, but I felt like it was a good time I understood it, I liked it. I didn't like what the president was doing, and any time I get to express my displeasure with this president, I feel fine about that.
But that's because so many people are trying to say that actors should not stray into that.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly.
So Chris
I'm the first to tell actors to shut up too. But that's like telling a person to shut up. Like everybody's a person. It doesn't matter whether you're an athlete, an actor. Nobody has to shut up.
So Chris was talking too about, he used the phrase peaks and valleys of Mulder and Scully's relationship and how we're exploring different parts of that. And he made it sound like as we go into this next season, there may be a shift from what we saw last season. So can you maybe talk a little bit about what it was like to get to this, whatever this new point is, and how, when that's happening, when you and Jillian are coming together and figuring that, like where they stand right now, how that works for you as actors?
Yeah, well, it's really it's a question for Chris, and I guess what he means by peaks and valleys is like you got to bring them together and pull them apart and bring them together and pull them apart, and that's the nature of like serialized television, where you're kind of keeping things the same by giving an illusion that you're actually not keeping them the same. So it's a tough balancing act for him. What's the balancing act for the actors? And what's interesting for Jillian and I in doing this show is sometimes we'll do a very intense, like personal episode, and then the next week we'll just be back on the case. And I guess that's like life, because no matter what's going on in your life, you have to do your job. You don't necessarily bring your life into your job. But I always use the example of the first season. I did an episode where Mulder is like deathly afraid of fire, and that has never played again. And he's seen fire again, and I'll be like, "Am I supposed to be afraid?" And even in the pilot, which happened before that episode, where we watched a house burn down, and I was fine because nobody had told me yet that I was deathly afraid of fire. So there's a little bit of that goes on. It's like, did we have a love scene last week, and now we're doing this? Now we're acting like we've never even held hands.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a little bit of that to the nature of our show, which there's kind of this amnesia that happens sometimes. Selective amnesia, but I want to talk about the fire thing some more. I got to figure because I need to know if I'm afraid of fire. And I think it's
a little late, isn't it?
Well, we got 5 more episodes to shoot, so see if there's any fire in it.
How open are you to doing another season if people enjoy this one?
Yeah, I'm open. I love working with these people, and I love the show. I'm always open. it's a struggle to get everybody together at the same time, regardless of what Chris says. You know, if they want to do it, I'm open to doing it.
Be honest, would you rather do a movie and be done in X amount of time over a series?
It's an interesting question. It really depends on the story. You know, if Chris came to me and I said, I've got this 2-hour version of the show that could make a good movie, well, I'd have to look at the story, right? I think sometimes our stories are too big for television, and sometimes they're too small for movies. So we've got to figure that out. So it would really have to be dependent on. Now, personally, as an actor, that would be great. It would be less of a commitment, and yeah, I'd love to see another movie. But you know, you're not going to make a movie about, you know, exposition heavy, telling people what the X-Files used to be about. You know, it would have to be a great movie regardless of whether Mulder and Scully were involved in it. Right. You know, so if you came to me with an idea and then you said Mulder and Scully can exist in this world and they can deal with this case, I'm like, fantastic. I mean, I didn't see It, but whatever. Like, say you put Mulder and Scully in It, well, maybe that'd be great. I don't know. You know, so that's the kind of a thing where I would see it as a movie. Whereas the television show is a different type of storytelling.
Does this format suit you better, doing 6 or maybe 10 episodes as opposed to sacrificing 11 and a half months out of the year?
I couldn't do that. I would never. Well, never say never, but I don't see myself not only ever doing a full season like that of the X-Files, but of any television show.
Is that because of like lifestyle and family, or is it also because like you like doing a couple of different projects throughout the year?
Both, and I think that I just look at I did a network show a couple years ago, Aquarius, but I only did 12 episodes. So I think the landscape of television has changed so drastically that, again, it's really like, I'd have to honestly, if you came to me and you said, I've got this idea, it really needs 22 hours, well, pitch it to me. And then I'd go, you know what, that's amazing, you're right, that's 22 hours. You could say it's 6 hours. It's so amazing that now we can look at storytelling has completely changed, because it used to be it's either a 2-hour story or it's a 24-hour something. Now, even movies, they're like almost obsolete. It's like, why is it a 2-hour story? You look at these 6-episode shows, you look at these 10-episode shows, 12, 16, you know, but they're story dependent. And filmmakers, storytellers are really figuring out how I'm going to tell this particular.
And feeling free to take what they need to tell it, right?
Yeah, like, I don't need 2 hours for this. I need 6.
So you were talking before about moving back and forth between canon, like serial, and these completely off storyline episodes. Fans love those off storyline episodes just as much, or sometimes even more than the regular serial episodes. Are there any Easter eggs?
What do you mean by off storyline?
Like off canon, out of canon. Like, so maybe you
Talk
guys.
to me like I've never seen the show.
I mean,
So
like
you
the
have
mythology versus
Yeah.
The more individual episodes. I think
Yeah, like so you have
Standalone
like
episodes?
standalone episodes.
Okay. Whether or not they're funnier or.
Yeah, like do you have any Easter eggs you can give us about a standalone episode for the 2018 season?
Well, you know, we have Darren Morgan doing one, and his episodes are always unique. I think, I mean, in terms of like television, period, not just in terms of our show. I think Darren is truly one of the best writers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So we just finished shooting that one, and I kind of love his episodes too, because he really hates my character more than anything, and he makes my character an ass. And it's interesting to try to play Mulder, keep the character believable within the crap that Darren Morgan likes to sling at him. So and I say that with love and with appreciation, because I really love what he does. He's really, like, Darren is a guy that's trying to destroy the show from the inside. He's trying to character assassinate my character. And I love it. You know, so I always, to me, it's like, well, how do I play? You know, I appreciate this is really smart and funny and good, but how does Mulder play in that world? So, you know, I think Chris, Glenn, Jim, you know, we have writers that all have a unique voice. Chris tends to take care, at this point, of the mythology stuff, even though back in the day he would have done a lot of standalone stuff himself. Glenn and Jim seem to be doing standalone thriller kind of stuff, and then Darren does Darren. So I can't remember if I answered your question.
You definitely answered the question. Thank you so much.
Thanks, David. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.